Cool. Thank you for being here. GalaxyCon, Louisville.
So is the convention treating you well so far?
The convention's been great. Yesterday was actually a really busy day, so if I got to meet you yesterday, thank you for showing up. And if you're just here today and tomorrow, hopefully you'll come to my table and we'll get to say hi. So.
How many of you guys have been here? This is your second day.
Nice.
Most people.
Yeah, that's good. Got the 3-day pass.
Yeah.
I hate this chair. I'm sorry. I'm going to be like this. Okay. All right.
So I want to talk about your introduction into the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers family. So I know you did gymnastics when you were younger. Did any of that play a role into like your auditions or anything like that when you were trying out?
Sure. I mean, in the beginning, they just asked us, are you able to do when they did the breakdown, they put it out in something called Backstage West, which is like a publication that goes out in New York and in LA. It might be in bigger cities now too, like Atlanta and stuff like that. But back in the day, it was just Los Angeles, Backstage West, and it had an open casting call with breakdowns, and it just said, you need to be a martial artist, gymnast, or a dancer. And luckily, I was a competitive gymnast for a lot of my younger life. And so it definitely played in. But not towards probably like the fifth audition.
Okay.
Because I originally auditioned for the role of Victor, which became Jason, which was the Red Ranger. And, they just said, can you do one of those 3 things? And I'd be like, yeah, I was a gymnast. And they're like, okay, that's cool. So I didn't really have to do anything right out of the gate.
Did you have to do anything so did you do your own stunts or did you have a stunt man to do those for you?
Well, whenever you see us as civilians like this, it's always us doing our own stunts.
Right.
And then when we morph into our counterparts, typically the first season was Japanese footage that was cut into the show.
Oh, okay.
And then after that, we had an amazing stunt team that did most of the fights in costume for us. It's really dangerous to have your lead actors get in costume in a helmet where you can't really see. If you get injured, it kind of shuts down the show,
So you said you went through like 5 different auditions.
Well, I went through 8.
8 auditions. At what number audition did you think, man, I really got a shot at this? Or were you like, oh man, they're just dragging me through this and I don't think I have a shot?
Yeah, I mean, I never felt comfortable like I definitely have this role. Because even up until the final audition, we went to what they say you're going to network. And so you go. At that time, the show aired on Fox Kids, and so we went to the Fox network. And, the network makes the final decision, and there was 3 different casts that went up before the network. So even though I was in the A cast, and there was a couple of people in the A cast that were like, oh yeah, they're telling me it's us, we have this. I never felt that way because there was one producer that didn't want me to be Billy. So I was like, he was always sort of against me because there was a Billy that looked like him, and he wanted that kid to be Billy. So I never felt confident, but luckily I got the role.
How long, was this was Power Rangers your first acting job?
I wouldn't say it was my first acting job, but it was my first big, the first thing that became huge, whatever. So, I had done some other little guest spots and some movies of the week, some PSAs and stuff like that. But then Power Rangers came along and it took off to number 1 and became a worldwide phenomenon. So
I remember I was in middle school at the time. So that was the hotness when I was in middle school. Did you have trouble? I don't want to necessarily say trouble, but when you guys when you went out in public, was it just insane? Were you just recognized everywhere you went?
I would say, yeah. Certainly in those first 3 years, because there was such a frenzy about Power Rangers, it was a little bit more difficult to go out in public. But, it was fun. When you guys were little kids, you guys would get shy and scared, but your parents would be like, get over there, say hi to him, take a picture with him. And you guys would cry and all that kind of stuff. So it was more your parents than you guys. But, yeah, so, we would get recognized all the time. And so that changes your reality in a lot of ways. And still to this day, every day, at least once, but more than once, I get recognized out on the street, and people ask to take pictures with me all the time. So, of course, I do it.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Actually, I was just eating at Chipotle in Los Angeles a couple nights ago, the night before I flew here, and This guy's 27. I'll give him a shout out. His name's Quinn. I remember that. And he was wearing a Power Ranger shirt. And I was like, oh, crap. So I kind of put my head down. And I was like, what do I do? And so, he went through the line, and he just happened to sit at the table across from me. He didn't realize it at first. And so I just kind of went about my business. But out of my perception, I could see him go, start oh, my God. What, And so, we had this whole thing, and we laughed, and, we talked for a little bit. So it's kind of funny.
That's great. Do you have any leftover remnants? Did you take anything from the show? Do you have any props or anything that you used?
I would say back in the day we weren't really smart enough to know to take stuff, in theory. But I did, from the TV show, there was an episode where Billy had a girl that had a crush on him, and she made a gold statue of Billy because she thought Billy would be the perfect Gold Ranger. And so they gave me that. There used to be a cardboard cutout of me from one of the first episodes that we filmed where I turned into a cardboard cutout. So I had this life-size cardboard cutout of me. I carried that around for a while, but eventually over the years, the fingers broke off and all that, so I just trashed that. But that was really it from the TV show. From the movie, I took my one of my ninja outfits, so that was a good steal.
Is there anything you wish you would have been able to take, like your original helmet?
Yeah, looking back, it would have been nice to have been able to keep one of our original outfits and all that. But yeah, only now, all these years later, do we realize the value of it,
right,
and how much it means to so many people. So that would have been cool to have. But they're in, some of our movie suits are in Planet Hollywoods throughout the world, and some of our TV. Can't remember where I saw the TV ones. I can't remember. I feel like it was at one of the wax museums somewhere.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now you say now it's super popular, and you're doing all the I guess there's Ranger conventions, Power Ranger conventions.
There's a few. Yeah.
During that downtime before the convention scene took off, did you keep in touch with any of the other cast members, the original members?
Sporadically. Amy Jo Johnson and I have always been in touch, and Jason David Frank. Well, Jason and I didn't talk for a little while, but I've been in contact with most of them throughout, and then once the convention scene started, then I met up with Walter and Austin again, so it's been kind of cool to be with the original crew, as we say.
Now, I was friends with another Blue Ranger from later years, Michael Copan.
Oh, yeah.
And he totally rocked my world. And he told me, if you can confirm.
It's kind of weird when you say he rocked your world, but I'm curious. Okay.
That the pink Power Ranger in those fight scenes was actually a guy.
No.
No? So Michael lied to me?
Maybe in his season, not in our season.
No?
No, we had amazing women in those suits, in the yellow and the pink suit that were stunt. There was a woman named Sophia that was the Pink Ranger double. So probably in his season, I'm sure that might be true because they brought over a lot of the Japanese people from Japan to do the stunts, and they would just throw the Japanese guys in those suits and think, nobody will know. So it's possible, but not in my season.
Not in your season.
No.
Did you know during your seasons, obviously by the third it was a worldwide phenomenon, but did you know in the first season, those first couple episodes that you're filming, that it would be a big thing? Or were you like, this is kind of hokey, it's going to be on a kids network, and maybe it might get some syndication run somewhere?
Yeah, we had no way to gauge how it was going to go, and we actually filmed almost the entire first season, which was 40 episodes, before it even started airing.
Oh.
So, there was no way to know how it was going to go. The network just said, we've ordered 40 episodes, and, go shoot them. And so that's what we were doing. And then it aired probably around episode 32 and shot up, and then to number 1, whatever, and then the network ordered another 20 episodes right away from that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I was, as I said, huge fan growing up. And now, do you have any, I guess, and now there's Funkos and other toys, it's a thing again. Do you have any of those, action figures or any of those, in a trophy room somewhere in your house?
Well, I did. I have almost every, my mother, I'm fortunate enough to have a crazy mom. When the show was really popular, she went out and bought every Power Ranger piece of merchandise ever. So I have a whole storage unit full of every original toy that you could possibly think of, soap, food, everything. I have it. It's crazy. So I have all that, and then as the time has gone on, and now they're reintroducing a lot of the original stuff of Power Rangers. I've started collecting all of that stuff as well. So I do in my house. I at one point had a display. It was like a huge bookcase, and it just became too overwhelming. Because there's so much stuff, and then when I come to shows like this, so many people give me gifts, and I was putting all the gifts up on there and the things that people make, and it got out of control. So I've taken it down because I remodeled that part of my house, and I haven't put it back up yet. But Amy Jo posted a little thing the other day about some of the gifts that people gave her, and then Jason David Frank I think got jealous, and then he posted something. And so then I got all these messages, David, where's your display? Like, da-da-da-da, people getting mad at me that I'm not showing the gifts that I've received. And I was like, oh, God, I got to put it back up again. So.
Do you have a favorite piece that you had from the original? I guess a two-part question, a favorite piece from the original, and maybe a favorite fan piece that somebody gave you?
There's tons of favorite fan pieces. Like, some of the artwork that people give me is just amazing, and I'm, like, totally overwhelmed. And I will say back in the day when we were on the TV show, I don't know why I was the lucky one, but I would always get fan art sent to me, like really nice ones, like framed and everything, and nobody else got those. And I was like, wow, that was kind of cool. So I do have some original art from like the 93, 94 era from fans back then that drew these amazing photos of me and sent them to me. So that's kind of cool. Those maybe might be my, I don't know, but toy-wise, just like the original flip heads were really cool to have. I don't know, there's so many toys. I don't know if I have a favorite one.
I'm sure you sign a ton of Funkos at your table as well.
Yeah, that's the big thing right now.
Yeah,
and we have like six or seven different versions of ourselves, the originals right now. So.
That's great. Like, do you look at it, you're like, that looks nothing. Those eyes are too big.
I haven't gone there, but sometimes there is one toy. It's from the movie, and it's the ninja. It's me as a ninja person, and basically they took Johnny Young Bosch, Adam, the second Black Ranger. They took his mold and used it for me, and so I have black eyes. It doesn't look like me at all, other than a blue outfit. But we can tell that it was Johnny's. So I was like, that's kind of weird. And I have black hair instead of like blonde or light brown, whatever. So.
Now you're saying you did do your own stunts when you were civilians and stuff like that. Did you get hurt at any time doing those stunts? Did you suffer any injuries?
I never got hurt at all. I would say our stunt team got hurt because of us. So God bless them. But yeah, I can remember when we were filming the movie, one of the stunt guys had a nose piercing, and I'm not going to say what actor, but back in the day, Doc Martens were the boots, and they were steel-toed, and one of the actors threw a kick, and it hit the guy in the nose, and it ripped out his nose ring. Wasn't me. Just saying.
Just saying, it wasn't you.
I won't tell you who.
I still have some questions on my notepad I definitely want to get through, but I know some of you guys have questions here. So again, there is a live mic. Don't be afraid to be first. I think that way your question isn't stolen from somebody else. But I want to talk about I want to ask you about your clothing line. How did that come about?
Well, I have a clothing company with a couple of business partners of mine. It's called Affirmative Clothing Company, affirmativecc.com if you want to look it up online. But, my character, Billy, never would say the word yes or I agree. He always said affirmative. Mm-hmm. So it sort of started off as a joke, just like, oh, let's make a clothing line called Affirmative. But then I just wanted to make sure that we were putting a positive message out into the world. So our company motto is embrace who you are, believe in who you are, affirm who you are. That's affirmative. So that's sort of what it's based on. And some of the merchandise is Power Ranger based, loosely. And then others are just like regular clothes. And we have jackets. Now we have tumblers. We have bags. We have all kinds of stuff coming. And so it's pretty cool. It's been very successful. So thank you if you guys have bought any of the affirmative stuff. I appreciate that. But yeah, it's been a pretty successful line.
Yeah, so at what point were you like, you know what I need, to be out there is Power Rangers clothing line. I mean, not necessarily Power Rangers clothing line, but at what point were you like, man, I dig the fashion thing and I want to make this clothing line?
Well, it was actually my business partners. They brought the idea to me, and I just thought, yeah, it'd be cool. But I said, I don't want to be making Power Ranger stuff.
Right.
So, and you guys are older, so some of you guys get like embarrassed to wear like total Power Ranger stuff. So that's why we do hints to Power Rangers. Like one of our successful shirts is called, it just says Ranger across it.
Oh.
And then it's got like the colors of, the Rangers, just like little stripes. And so it's just like a hint, a nod to Power Rangers, So we have a lot of that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Hello, how you doing?
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, live
It's my
mic.
first time. I'm Kimberly.
Hi, Kimberly.
Pink Ranger.
Pink Ranger.
Yes. I just wanted to know, like, who are you the closest with out of the cast? Like, are you guys a tight-knit group still? Or is it, like, just a few people that you're closest to?
I don't like any of them, really.
Man. I had that feeling, but...
Did you?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I with Amy Jo, probably the closest.
She's the best. But
She's okay. But yeah, no, Amy Jo and I, we've always been good friends. We've always had amazing chemistry together. And, she and I go on vacation together at least once a year, sometimes twice a year. Jason David Frank would be next in line. And then Austin and Walter. I see them a lot at Comic-Cons. But Walter lives pretty close to me, so we meet up every now and then.
Nice.
Is that good?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello.
At any time, what was your favorite fight scene?
What was my favorite fight scene? I have a lot, but I would say the episode Blue Ranger Gone Bad, which is where I basically am fighting myself. There's 2 Blue Rangers, so that was a lot of fun to film. And then in the movie, we had some pretty cool stunts that we had to do. So I had a lot of fun filming the movie fights. Is that cool? All right. Thanks for your question.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So what are your feelings about the Power Rangers reboot that came out a few years ago?
In 2017? I liked it. I thought they did a pretty good job. I liked R.J. Kyler, who played Billy. I was really proud of him. I thought he did justice to the character. Overall, it was good. I just don't think they played the theme song long enough. I don't think they said it's morphin' time right. And I think they said Krispy Kreme way too many times. But other than that, it was good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Krispy Kreme.
Hello.
Hello.
I was wondering what it was like for you guys to go from filming the TV show, then to the movie, and then back to the TV show, and if you have any favorite memories from that.
I wouldn't say I have any favorite memories from that, no. I mean, the TV show is very fast-paced. We film 4 episodes at one time. So everything that happens in the command center for those 4 episodes, we film. And what you have to remember, we have tons of wardrobe changes that go on in all that. So we're very fast-paced. And then when you go to do a movie, it's like slamming on the brakes. It's so slow, and it feels painful at times. And what happened with the movie, we went to Australia to film the movie, and we were supposed to be there for 3 months, but they had to recast some of the actors that were playing other roles, and we had to end up reshooting a lot of the movie because it wasn't testing properly with kids, and so it ended up taking 6 months. So in that sense, we got behind on the TV show, so they started making us film the TV show and the movie at the same time in Australia. And then on our quote-unquote one day off, we'd have to go into the voiceover booth and do our voiceovers for the TV show. So it was not fun. That's why I don't have a lot of good memories of that.
I can imagine.
So I think there was, at one point, we worked 21 days straight in a row with no days off.
Wow.
And those are 12 to 15-hour days. So that was really tough.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
But
thank you.
in the end, I mean, it was the movie, I think, turned out great.
Yeah.
I still hear so much from you guys about how much you love that movie and you still watch it. So I'm glad to hear that. And obviously, you wouldn't be here if you didn't like the TV show. So thank you all for being fans of Power Rangers.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for your question. How's it going?
It's going good.
Good.
I was wondering, what do you think was the most difficult time to film?
In what sense?
Like, is there any time you feel like you could go back and do a film better?
Oh, I mean, I could go back and do my performances better a lot of times, yeah. I mean, I just think for us, because the TV show was so fast-paced, like I can't speak for anybody else, I didn't get to, put as much focus on things as I would maybe have liked to have. And if I could go back, I can remember in the beginning they would tell me they don't want Billy to know how to fight, which was sort of frustrating for me because it made me hold back a lot. And I think if I just wouldn't have listened to the producers and just sort of went with my gut instinct, it probably would have been different for Billy. Not that it wasn't great, because I liked the character arc that Billy had, where he was not confident in fighting and he grew over time. But I just wish I would have trusted my natural instincts better. That's all. Does that sort of answer your question?
Yeah.
In a roundabout way?
Yes.
Okay. You feel satisfied?
Yes.
100%.
Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello. I just wanted to ask if you have any particular fond memories of Bulk and Skull's insanity on set.
Absolutely. Jason Narvi and Paul Schreier are two of the most amazing actors I've ever had to work with. They're both very, very talented, but it's so crazy that they kind of got together. I don't know if you guys know this, but Jason Narvi, who ended up playing Skull, originally auditioned for the role of Billy. He didn't get it, obviously, but anyways, he was such a good actor that they remembered him and they brought him back. He wasn't in the original pilot either. There was somebody else cast as the role of Skull, and I guess that guy didn't work out, and so they brought in Jason Narvi. But the second that those two met, their chemistry was amazing, and they are hilarious together. And still to this day, whenever they're together, they're always doing shtick. It's like they're on. I'm like, oh my God, are you guys for real? Are you Bulk and Skull, or are you Jason and Paul, kind of thing? But yeah, they're just pretty good jokesters. They were always fun to have around, and amazing actors.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have questions? Okay.
I heard some possible rumblings about a reunion for Netflix. Have any of these rumors a little bit true?
I don't know if they're true. I kind of made those rumbles. I guess. I just thought, when we did the 25-year anniversary, it would have been nice if Saban at the time had stepped up to the plate and actually did some kind of reunion with the original cast. That didn't happen. I think they still want to try to keep us down. They don't want us to be famous, I guess. And so that didn't happen. So we're coming up on 30, so we'll see. But I think it would be cool if we did like a Netflix 7-episode sort of thing. With the original cast, and just sort of go through each of the characters' arc and where they are now and how they all come together, kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So I did write episode number 1 for that, and I don't know, I guess maybe I just need to be a little bit more forceful with Hasbro now and say, you really need to do this.
Absolutely.
You know?
I agree. Would you guys like to see a reunion?
So, I mean, the only person that would hold out would be Amy Jo, but I'd force her. She said she'd direct. She's an amazing director. So she's like, well, I'll probably direct something like that. But I think she's just afraid that she has to put on the pink spandex. And I don't think any of us really want to be in the spandex again.
Right.
But we'll figure it out. But yeah, I think you would like the first episode. It's pretty cool, and it's dark. Not dark, but it's not like, I don't know. It's an older adult version. Okay.
Hello.
Sorry. Yeah. In the early 90s, most of us were geeking out on Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles and all of that.
Ninja Turtles, what's that?
But I was wondering, while that was going on, did you have any kind of shows or fandoms that you were crazy into, or when you were younger that you admired like we did, Power Rangers?
That's a great question.
Like when I was 7 years old, like what were my favorite shows?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the era of when Star Wars really came out, so I can remember going to the theater opening weekend and getting to watch Star Wars for the very first time. So I was a huge Star Wars geek. So if you see all the pictures of me as a kid, I have like my Darth Vader belt. I have pictures of me playing with my land speeder in my room, and I had Star Wars sheets and all that kind of stuff. So that was my big fandom, I would say. But I can remember watching a show called Thundercats, and yes, it's pretty amazing. And I was a huge fan of a cartoon called Underdog. So those, I guess, would be my 3 things that I can sort of remember as a kid. But Darth Vader was my guy.
They say Star Wars was a huge fandom. Now, you've done a ton of conventions with Star Wars actors.
Right.
Have you geeked out to any of them? Have you fanboyed out to any of them? Like, oh my God, it's blah, blah, blah.
I mean, it was pretty cool to meet Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill. Those were my guys back then. I guess I'm sorry, there's another TV show, Buck Rogers. and I used to love that show. And I've met Gil Gerard, who was Buck Rogers, a ton of times. So that was pretty cool. Here's another one, Flash Gordon. I was a big Flash Gordon fan. And Sam Jones. Like, there's a Sam Jones documentary. It's about Flash Gordon, and I'm actually in that documentary talking about how much I love Sam Jones as a kid. So now they're all starting to click. When you get old, you forget things. And then it starts going, ch-ch-ch-ch. Okay, so yeah.
You ever sit in a green room and you just look over and you're like, oh, like, there's Alice Cooper, there's William Shatner.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very blessed and very fortunate, obviously, to get to do all these shows as it is, and then to get to meet actors that I looked up to as a kid. It's pretty cool. You have another question?
Yes.
Hello again.
A little bit of a caveat to this question. Sitting right over there is my mom, and she is definitely not a fan of Power Rangers. So I wanted to ask you, in your opinion, why do you think the show has lasted so long and has connected with so many people?
Is this your mom asking this? Or
No, I just want to embarrass her.
Oh. And so you made sure that we know that she doesn't like Power Rangers.
Yes.
I'm sorry if you were. Did he break things when he was little? Is that the issue? And he would try to beat people up and all that? I apologize. I'm
your
so
fault.
sorry. It is our fault. We were banned in Canada and in Sweden. In Canada for a while, but then they fought to get us back on, and we went back on the air there. But yeah, for violence. What was the question? Is there a reason why it was so successful?
Why do you think it's so successful and why it connected with all of us and why it's still around?
Well, I think back in the day, the original, I can only speak for the original Power Rangers, we had everything that a TV show and kids could possibly want. We were superheroes. We were ethnically diverse, so we came from different backgrounds, so everybody had somebody they could sort of relate to. We wore spandex. We were very colorful. And did I say we have dinosaurs? People related to that. We were a robot. So everything that a kid could want to relate to, we had, and I think that's why it was so successful. But also, I think what came across the most was the chemistry that the original cast had on screen. And so, I think that really related to you guys when you watched it, whether you knew it or not. And it's pretty awesome, all these years later. I mean, I can't explain it. It's sort of a phenomenon to me that the TV show had such an impact on you guys and the characters, whether you related to my character or one of the others, you guys saw something in those characters and said, I want to be like that. And so you became martial artists or you became doctors, teachers, gymnasts, whatever it was. So that's pretty humbling for us because never would we have thought that the characters would have that kind of a impact on people's lives. So it's pretty awesome. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Mom.
Kind of piggybacking off on the earlier question about what were your favorite fandoms, back then when you were young. What are your fandoms now? What do you like to watch on TV?
Oh, I'm gonna bore you guys. I'm a huge Survivor fan, so I've watched every season of Survivor. So I think I want to go on that TV show. So I watch Survivor all the time. I watch Mom, which is a sitcom. The Crown. There's so many Netflix shows that I like. So The Crown is really good. I just watched one with Sacha Baron Cohen called Spy. I don't know if you've watched it. It's based on a true story for the most part. Really good. The Bodyguard was really good on Netflix. I mean, there's just so many. I could go on. The Elite. I don't know if you watched that. That's really good. It's a Spanish show, but it's dubbed in English, so it's a little weird because their voices don't quite match, but it's really well done. Obviously, Stranger Things, huge, and I don't know. I could go on. I'm a big TV junkie.
I think, a couple more seasons of Stranger Things, they're going to end up from the 80s into the 90s.
Yep.
Maybe there's
I don't know about
maybe
that.
there's a gig for the Power Rangers.
You
and
never know.
Stranger Things.
You never know. Could happen.
Did you watch any of the later episode or the later seasons? Obviously, I know you were in the next the next sequence of Rangers, but did you watch any of the following iterations of Power Rangers?
I didn't even watch the ones I was in, so people get upset when they hear that. But I filmed them all, so I knew what was going on. But no, I never watched. I mean, I've met a ton of actors from all the other series. I've caught little clips here and there, but I've never sat down and watched a full episode of any of the other seasons. Sorry if somebody gets upset about that. My bad.
Are there any roles that you would like to do besides obviously a reunion? What type of roles would you possibly want to do? Like, would you want to maybe do some voiceover work, or you're looking for that the Marvel DC thing that's really big right now?
I don't think I'm a good voiceover candidate personally, so I haven't really ever pursued that. But I obviously would like to play like a Doctor Who would be nice, or I don't know. There's a sitcom that I've written that is sort of loosely based superheroes, and I play like like the not a leader in the sense that I play like the Zordon character. That'll make it easier for you. I play like the Zordon character of a group of misfits.
Okay.
So people that you wouldn't think are superheroes, and they're not true superheroes. I don't want to give too much away, but they are superheroes.
So it sounds like you have between you said writing that and the
Power Rangers reunion.
Yeah, it seems like you have a lot of things on your on your back burner. Like, do you feel like writing those is your way to get out those creative juices? Is there anything else that you do?
Well, I've been known to be a television producer, so I've produced some television, but I have probably, I don't know, 6 projects right now that I've written and that, sort of have been shopped around a little bit, so we're just waiting to see what happens. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's important for me to stay creative, so writing is one way of doing that, and producing is another way of doing that.
What side of the camera do you prefer? Do you prefer behind? Do you prefer to be in front of it?
I prefer both. Acting's much easier because you don't have to do anything other than act. As a producer, you're responsible for everything that happens, and so there's a lot more that goes into it. You're sometimes the first person on set and the last person to leave, so you have much longer days, and you're responsible for all the money and all the crew and all the cast, and just making sure everything kind of comes together systematically and works out, and you stay on budget. So that I kind of like that aspect, but it's overwhelming at times.
If you were to produce and cast the new Power Rangers, could you cast 5 actors and actresses out there right now that you would like to see as a new Power Rangers?
Not off the top of my head. I would want all unknowns. Let's go that way.
All unknowns.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's kind of crazy sometimes when you see movies or TV shows and certain actors are just put in these roles because they have quote unquote a name and a following, and they aren't quite right for the role. I see that a lot, and I think that's really frustrating, and it's harder for actors that are just trying to break into the business. It makes it harder for them when maybe they're a better actor and probably more suited for the role. So if it's me and any of my projects get picked up, I will always fight to go with unknown actors, unless I think somebody that has a name is actually 100% right for the role.
Going back to the, you said you don't think you're a voice-over type guy, but you did the voice, you had to do some of the voiceovers.
Well, yeah. It was my own voice, though. I didn't have to create a character.
So how tough was that, like, to fake a fight scene, to just into it, rather than actually being hit, you have to you have to fake that, the fight,
Right.
How tough was that to do?
That part's not tough. The tough part is that because in the first season it was Japanese footage, trying to match what the writers wrote in the script to the Japanese footage was not always difficult. So sometimes we'd be rushing to say 12 words in 3 seconds, trying to make it look right. So if we're fighting, sometimes you'll see us in the booth saying our lines going like this, just to sort of match what was happening. So that was probably the more difficult part, is just trying to get the English lines that they wrote to match the Japanese footage. And often in the booth, we would end up having there'd be a director there that would sometimes he'd be like, okay, that doesn't work, we need to rewrite this line. And so they'd rewrite it on the spot, and then we'd have to do it on the spot.
Was there any lines, either dubbing or during your acting scene, that, man, you just couldn't, they gave you a line that you're like, did you actually read this when you wrote it? Like, that you just couldn't get out, or you had problems with, or?
Well, there was a lot of those. For my character, Billy, I'm not a smart person in real life, and they would give Billy these huge, long words that I had no idea what they meant. And so I would literally sit down in my dressing room with a dictionary and go through and look up the words and try to figure out what Billy was saying, and then try to make it sound as natural as possible. But so I went through that every script. I'd be like, what are you, oh my God. So yeah, I became a smarter person because I played Billy. But my favorite line is a fully sentient, multifunctional automaton. That's my favorite line.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Is there one moment that you remember most fondly? Obviously, it wasn't the TV show going on, but was there one moment that you're like, man, like this, I will remember this moment forever?
I don't know if I have one specific moment. I mean, in terms of not filming, I think the one that we all remember the most is we were supposed to go to Universal Studios and do a live show at Universal Studios, just like one little tiny live show. And we showed up at Universal Studios, did a rehearsal in this really smaller than this, like half of this, like outdoor amphitheater. And you know, they just thought maybe like 100 people would show up to see us. And what happened, this is in Los Angeles, is we closed down the freeway in both directions, 8 miles, shut down the freeway, and everybody was trying to get into Universal Studios. And by like 9:30, they had to close the doors to Universal Studios and say we can't let anybody else in because we've already hit capacity at 30-some thousand people. So you know, that's never been recreated ever. Right. So like that's the day I think most of us remember, like, oh wow, this is a big deal.
That's awesome.
So and like they ended up moving us to the big theater, which seats like 7,000 people, and we did 6 to 7 shows that day.
That's great. Never underestimate the Rangers, right?
That's right. That was crazy, and I feel so bad because there were so many people trying to get to Universal Studios that didn't get to come, and they had it on the news, you know, all night, whatever, and there was these poor people. They were in a van of like 10 or 12 people, cousins together. They were all excited, and their van broke down like right outside of Universal Studios, so they didn't get to come see us. And I wish, you know, back then we would have known that or paid more attention to that, because it would have been nice if we would have had them come to set, right. You know, because they didn't get to go because their car broke down,
right.
You know. But
all right, so before we wrap up, do you want to give out your social medias so these fine folks can follow you?
Sure. If you don't follow me on social media, the best is on Instagram, which is official David Yost, and on Twitter, it's David_Yost. Facebook, not really a fan of. I'm on it, if you're on it, but I don't post there as often as I do on Instagram and Twitter. So those are my 2 good ones. Again, if you want to check out Affirmative Clothing Company, affirmativecc.com. We get some good stuff there, and I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much. If you haven't come to my table, I guess we're downstairs, I'm upstairs. Come upstairs, and you can at least say hi. There's no pressure to buy anything, so don't worry about that. You can at least say hi, and but if you want, we can do autographs and take pictures, and I love you guys. You guys are, you know, I wouldn't be here without you, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me that Power Rangers had such an influence on so many people's lives, and some of you guys are parents now, and you've introduced your kids to the originals, and they're into the originals, so I think that's awesome. And thank your parents for being nice and letting you watch Power Rangers, and maybe they stood in line and fought with other parents to get the toys for you, so just make sure you tell your parents thank you.